Are you sure you want to wake up? Because there's something no one ever told you. Spiritual awakening is not a gentle light. It's a burn. It's not the instant peace you've seen quoted over pastel backgrounds. It's a silent wildfire that starts deep inside, in the place where you bury everything you're afraid to face. You go through the motions, wake, work, smile, repeat. You maintain relationships that feel more like routines. You wear identities like well-tailored costumes. But then, something cracks. You don't know why. You can't describe it, but it aches. It's a wound with no blood, a hollow space nothing fills. And that's where it all begins. Because the true awakening doesn't lift you. It breaks you. It's not a soft revelation. It's a silent scream that rips off your masks, your certainties, your emotional escape hatches. It's like stepping out of a cave after years underground and facing sunlight for the first time. It blinds you, it stings, but somehow, you know, there's no going back. Most people won't talk about this part. They speak of bliss, high vibes, manifestation. But you're starting to see through that. It's just another shiny cage. More polished, more positive, but a cage nonetheless. And you're done with cages, even golden ones. You're after truth, even if it tears you apart. That's when you stumble upon a name. Simone Weil, a woman who didn't run from the wound, who leaned into it, not to fix it, but to hear what it had to say, who understood what you're just beginning to realize, that pain isn't a detour on the spiritual path. Sometimes it's the door. They sold you a fantasy. They said awakening means feeling peaceful, floating in balance, living in a state of constant gratitude, that repeating mantras, cleansing your crystals, and reposting bite-sized wisdom would raise your vibration. That spirituality was a smooth ride, scented with sage and sprinkled with stardust. But now you're starting to see it for what it really is, a well-marketed illusion. Because the real thing doesn't shine at first, it scorches. Awakening isn't a reward for being emotionally balanced. It's a rupture, a collapse. It's as if a part of you begins to die, not your body, but your sense of self. What once felt sacred now feels hollow. What once calmed you now irritates you. Why? Because you've begun to see behind the curtain, and the truth isn't always beautiful. Modern spirituality often acts as a spiritual anesthetic, a polished placebo. It tells you to bypass your pain, to smile at the mirror, to accept everything and go with the flow. But you can't flow in a current that's drowning you. Your soul isn't looking for relief. It's craving truth, even if that truth skins you alive. Simone Weil saw this without flinching. She once wrote that only the empty soul can receive grace. But that emptying, it's not aesthetic. It's not something you post online. It's brutal. You lose your reference points, your borrowed sense of safety, the idols you worshipped within. Your old beliefs crumble, and with them, your false identity. And you're left staring into the mirror, raw and unsure. You start asking, why do I feel more lost now that I'm awakening? Why did life seem easier when I was asleep? That's the secret no one told you. Waking up isn't about understanding more. It's about no longer lying to yourself. And at first, that shatters you, because you built your whole world on those lies. This is the cost. It's not about ascending to higher realms. It's about descending into your truth, stepping off the pedestal of the enlightened self, and facing your contradictions, your childhood wounds, your hidden cravings. Awakening forces you to see all of it, without flinching. And yes, it hurts. Comfort is addictive, even false comfort. We cling to what we can name, control, and explain. But the soul didn't come here to be comfortable. It came here to ignite. And that fire? It's not decorative. It's sacred. It's wild. You can't go back now. Sure, you can distract yourself. Go back to noise, back to scrolling, back to pretending. But something inside of you already cracked. And that crack is the entry point. There comes a moment. No thunder, no vision, no divine sign. Just a tightness in your chest that won't go away. It's not medical. It's not logical. It's a kind of soul exhaustion. Like you're dragging a life that no longer fits you, wearing a skin that's grown too small. Outwardly, you're doing everything right. Showing up to work, supporting your partner, smiling for your friends. But inside, There's a dense silence, an echo that no sound can touch. You feel like you're watching your own life from behind glass, present, but not truly alive. And the question starts to haunt you. If I'm doing everything I'm supposed to, why does everything feel so wrong? The worst part, you can't explain it. Not to your partner, not to your friends, not to your family. Because when you try, they say you're overthinking, that you need a vacation, a night out, some positive vibes. But deep down you know, it's not sadness, it's not stress. It's something collapsing within you, in silence. You begin to feel like a stranger, at work, in your relationships, even in your own skin. Small talk feels empty. Your daily habits feel like slow death. You don't laugh like you used to. You don't care about the things that used to calm you. But you're not depressed, not in the clinical sense. What you're feeling has no label. It's a death of the persona, the you that was carefully constructed, successful, composed, socially acceptable. You kept it alive out of habit, fear, the need to belong. But now, it's breaking. Not because you're weak, but because something deeper refuses to keep pretending. And then the questions come rushing in. Am I failing as a parent? Am I losing my relationship? Why do I feel so numb? What's the point of showing up every day when nothing feels meaningful? What do I believe in if I don't even recognize myself anymore? And underneath all of them, the question you fear most, who am I without all my roles? Simone Weil never ran from that abyss. She walked straight into it. She said the disintegration of personality is what allows the eternal to approach. Maybe that's what's happening to you, not as punishment, but as preparation, because only what is empty can receive what is true. Yes, the price is steep. You lose connections. You face raw solitude. Sometimes even your faith feels like it's falling apart. You feel like you're wandering a long night. No stars, no map, no one beside you. But that solitude, it's not a punishment. It's sacred. It's the stillness where your soul finally hears itself. You're not in crisis. You're in passage, not between jobs, not between relationships, between realities. You're stepping out of falsehood without yet knowing what comes next. That uncertainty burns, but it also purifies. Because what's crumbling isn't your essence, it's your prison. What if this ache is the language of your soul? What if you're not losing your way, but finally discovering the real one? What if this discomfort is the birth of a deeper freedom than you ever imagined? You are not broken, you are awakening. And yes, it hurts. But this time, pain isn't the signal of failure, it's the sign of life. Simone Weil wasn't a philosopher of ivory towers. She was a mystic forged in fire. She lived what she thought. She suffered what she wrote. When she spoke of God, it wasn't a theory. It was a silence that only arrives when everything else has fallen apart. Her words don't comfort. They sear, because they come from real pain. For Simone, the soul doesn't awaken through cosmic energy or manifesting dream boards. The soul awakens when it breaks, when it empties itself, when it can no longer hold up the mask that society asked it to wear. Only then, when nothing remains, can the real enter, not as an answer, but as a presence. She spoke of a radical kind of attention, not focus, not visualization, but presence in the face of pain, with no need to fix it, label it, or use it, just being with the wound, so deeply and purely that the pain becomes sacred, a kind of silent prayer, without words, without requests, just awareness, just surrender. And that goes against everything you've been taught. We're told to resist, to rise above, to stay positive. But Simone didn't escape her pain. She let it pierce her. She allowed herself to be overwhelmed. She didn't try to turn it into a lesson or a brand of resilience. Because she knew sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is not run. She didn't preach comfort. She worked in factories, lived through war, starved herself when her people were hungry. And still, because of all that, she spoke of God, not the God of rituals or rewards, but the one who only draws near when the ego has been emptied, the God you don't summon, but receive in total stillness. Simone grasped something brutally beautiful, that grace only flows into places the ego has vacated, and for that to happen, part of you has to disappear. Not die in body, but dissolve in identity, in achievement, in roles, to stand in the doorway of nothingness, nameless, raw, exposed. That kind of spirituality doesn't trend. It doesn't get packaged into courses or inspirational merch. It's not aesthetic, it's not easy, it's not loud, it's quiet, it's fierce, and it's real. And right now, you're touching it. Because you've stopped searching for meaning on the surface. You've turned inward, even if there's nothing there. But that nothing is sacred. Simone would say it's the very space where the divine takes shape. Not absence, but openness. It's where the unexplainable can enter, where the uncontrollable lives, where possession ends and presence begins. And that changes everything, because you no longer need answers. You stop needing labels or affirmations. You begin to rest, not because your pain is gone, but because you've stopped fighting it. You breathe differently. You listen differently. You live without the need to uphold a version of yourself. Simone Weil lived with an almost unbearable sensitivity. That's why she wrote, not to teach you anything new, but to remind you of what your soul already suspects. That awakening is not about knowing more. It's about being less. Less mask, less ego, less noise. And there, in that naked stillness, the soul begins to ignite. You're not broken, you're opening. And yes, I know, it hurts. But maybe that pain isn't proof that you're lost. Maybe it's proof that you're finally stepping out of the mold. The mold that kept you functional, polite, acceptable, but empty. What you're feeling isn't ruin. It's shedding. Like a snake losing its skin. Like a seed cracking open in the dark. Like the night stretching just far enough to make space for the first breath of dawn. You're standing at the edge where the old no longer works, and the new hasn't fully taken shape. You've walked through the fire. You know it. And it wasn't just emotional. It was existential. It burned something deep inside you. And yet, you're still here, breathing, watching this, feeling. Which means that something within you didn't just survive. It started burning with a different light. A quiet one. One that doesn't perform. One that just is. That fire is yours. And it doesn't respond to noise or quick answers. It feeds on truth, on silence, on being radically honest with yourself when there's nothing left to prove, nothing left to pretend, no one left to impress. When you're simply present, because there's a new kind of freedom being born. Not the one you shout through rebel slogans, not the kind that does whatever it wants, but a far deeper freedom. The freedom to no longer carry an identity that isn't yours. The freedom to say, I don't know, without shame. The freedom to be unfinished and still walk with dignity. Simone Weil understood this kind of freedom, not as power, but as surrender. It's not that you take control, it's that you stop resisting. And in that surrender, something begins to glow inside you. A strength that doesn't need to be seen. A light that asks for nothing. A presence born from having lost almost everything. And then, without realizing it, you begin to rebuild. But not from the old foundation, from somewhere deeper. You choose differently now. From a mind that's been sobered. From a wound that no longer bleeds, but breathes. And that changes everything. You're done with lukewarm relationships. You're done performing. You no longer betray yourself just to fit in. Now there's fire in your gaze, a quiet boldness, a rare presence, because you're returning to yourself, not the old version, a new one, more real, more wild, more you. And yes, it still hurts. There are grey days, there are setbacks, long silences, but you're not the same anymore, because now you know something you didn't before, that you can walk through darkness without losing yourself, that you can move without certainty and still move forward. What burns now purifies, what collapses frees, what leaves makes space, and in that space, something begins to grow. You don't have to name it, just let it rise. Now you know you're not alone, that what you've been feeling wasn't madness, it was a signal, a sign that your soul could no longer stand living sedated, that your wound wasn't a flaw, it was a passage, that the chaos inside you was the beginning of something sacred. Awakening hurts, but staying asleep forever that hurts more. Because out there are thousands of people smiling on the outside while dying quietly inside. People checking all the boxes but feeling nothing. Loving, working, posting, but hollow. And you chose a different path. You chose to listen to the trembling, to answer the fire. And that changes everything. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs people who have burned and still choose love. People who don't have all the answers, but are done lying to themselves. People like you, who are crossing the threshold, who chose to awaken, even knowing it could break everything. So if something inside you resonated with this, if a part of your soul whispered yes, make it visible. Leave a comment that says, "Let the fire reveal me." It's not just a phrase, it's a vow, a quiet signal between those who no longer pretend, who would rather face the raw truth than hide in comfort. And if you felt held in this space, if even for a moment this video made you feel seen, subscribe. Not out of habit, not for the algorithm, but because here we're building something rare and real. A place where wounds aren't hidden, they're honored, where silence has a voice, where we don't live to perform, but to awaken. And remember this, don't let fear guide you. Let the flame do that. And if it hurts, let it hurt, as long as it's for something real.